Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, we will be presenting about children's education planning, the need and process. Children's education planning is an insurance plan that lets parents ensure the future of their kid. The plan allows parents to save their money and then utilize it for their child's education. One of the main objectives of this study is to investigate the purpose of education planning. The study intends to examine the importance, the benefits, and the need and plans for a child's education based on a variety of research methods such as qualitative approach, secondary data from past research papers, and internet research. Some of the main findings of this research indicates that there are various financial institutions that offer various investment plans that enable parents to provide for the education and other needs of their children when the time comes. In addition, this research has determined that education planning offers the solution by allowing society to define professional objectives, alternatives, and tactics based on personality, interests, skills, and values.
Every youngster has the right to an education in the modern era, despite the fact that more children are enrolled in the school than ever before. The dirty barriers responsible for realizing this right for every child are collectively failing to boost learning, and this failure is profound and widespread with the major consequences. Many young people lack the knowledge and the skills needed to realize their full potential and their contributes to their communities. The goal of this research is to develop solutions for the educational system. Education planning shows parents how to manage their money and expenditure sensibly for their children's educations, especially in light of other pressing obligations. The whole cost of the project must be considered by the parents. When calculating the entire cost, it is critical to be realistic about the inflation factor of the future cost of high school, college, or postgraduate educations. Identifying the current assets, obligations, and savings determine how much money must be saved immediately or in the monthly installments to meet the goal on or before the deadline. Next, objective of this report are first, to investigate the definition of children education planning and its purpose. Second, to determine the necessity of children education planning. Third, to identify the beneficial impacts of children education planning on their parents and children. Lastly, to recognize the actions needed to be taken into building children education planning. Now, for the structure of the report, this study divided into three parts. The first is the study's introduction, which included an abstract, an overview, objective, and the report structure. Second, the study's body is composed of a literature review, research technique, and establishments of the general findings regarding the topic. Last but not least, this report ends with a conclusion based on the study topic, which is children's education planning in our time, the need, and the process.
In the late 1950 and early 1960, developed countries formally began educational planning in third world countries. Singh identifies the following as the significant impact of educational planning in third world countries during the late 1960s is the evolution of overall integrated educational systems, development of educational administration and organization of planning structures within the educational system, and improved perception of the problem of inefficiency in the educational system. While third world countries benefited greatly from educational planning from the 1960s to the 1990s, their educational system also encountered some issues, including an excessive quantitative orientation, that is, the planning approach had been predominantly quantitative both in analysis and normative aspects. Educational planning had been overly centralized in the decision-making process, implementation weakness, and evolution dimension of educational system.
To support the objective of the study, a qualitative approach and secondary data from past research papers will be used. The research method used in this study is by internet research. This study uses data from journals or articles on the internet that are relevant to the topic at the time of this writing. This research employs qualitative method to collect data for analysis from previous studies. This study found that children educational planning is very important for the development of the children to ensure a bright future. This, according to a study from Shafiqur Rahman, stated that education planning can assist children in achieving better academic development. Apart from that, the study found that generally, educational planning is defined as the discovery, development, and execution of strategies aimed at meeting the educational requirements and goals of students and societies in an efficient and effective manner. This statement from SZA 2001 stated that the practice of educational planning is not a new phenomenon. In addition, the study also found that the complexity of the education system occurs because the developments are constantly happening. This statement is taken from the target study article, which states that the developments are taking place everywhere and the rising complexity of our educational system has made educational planning a necessity. Last but not least, the study has identified various beneficial factors of investing in children educational planning, which assists parents with a strategic investment with the appropriate types of fund and instruments that meet their goals and financial capabilities. This, according to a study from UniSZA 2021, stated that the best thing about planning and investing in an educational plan beforehand is to protect the future fluidity of income flow. That's all from me. I pass this to the next presenter. Thank you.
Findings admits that educational planning is as comparable to a retirement or housing planning. Children's educational planning can be defined as a systematic implementation of a strategy that assists children in achieving better academic development. Educational planning that carried out effectively allows students to make a smooth transition from high school to college or further technical education. Next, developments are constantly occurring where increased complexity of the educational system has necessitated educational planning to help ensure better life and future. It is due to various issues encountered by society such as population growth, inequality between economic and educational demands. Education planning benefits parents by displaying a clear perspective to align their income and expenditure resourcefully for the investment, especially in light of other precedent expenses. Lastly, study recognized the steps needed to be taken into building children education planning. Firstly, before establishing an education plan, parents must examine the expected needs and requirements for the educational program targeted. It assists in ensuring that the investment is the proper one and will not go to waste. Next, calculate the time horizon by estimating the child's graduation year or postgraduate years. Having a longer time horizon aids in better investment plans. Furthermore, estimating the cost of education. It is critical to be realistic about the inflation factors of the future cost of high school, college, or postgraduate education. In addition, assessing the existing assets, liabilities, and savings. Parents can either select a systematic funding plan in a mutual price range or commence a recurring deposit contribution. Parents should aim to keep or make investment on regular basis to prevent taking out loan which could be costly in the long term. Lastly, prepare for the unexpected costs. Additional expenditures such as accommodation, pocket money, tuition fees, and so on must always be anticipated. The additional costs may appear insignificant on their own, but when added together, they could mount up to a substantial cost.
To sum up what has been discussed so far, a children education planning is an insurance policy that gives safety in addition to the possibility for saving cash to make sure a stable destiny for their children. In addition, we can conclude that proper planning can help parents to create a complete approach for handling their cash as they calculate their unique lifestyle stage. Thus, parents need to have an estimate of the fees for their children's education, which want to moreover take inflation, benefit, and tension in the cost of the investment or saving period with the predicted quantity as a gap. Parents could then set a goal quantity and determine how first class to gain it.